So I'm working on this piece that I cut from the Sizzix bottle die, and I cut this sort of wavy in and out design by using the bottle die in a continuous cut. So now I'm just going to show you how to stitch these pieces together, and the way that this bottle die curve works is that you get a piece that starts narrow at the top and it's wide at the bottom, and when you cut multiple pieces out, they'll all end up wide at the top and narrow at the top and wide at the bottom. And what you can do is just take another piece that's just like that and flip it upside down, so you have the narrow piece at the top, the wide part at the bottom, and the other piece you flip upside down so that the wide part is at the top and the narrow part is at the bottom, and those curves will nest together, as you can see here. So what we're going to do is stitch these together, and because the bottle die has such a gentle curve, and most of the curved piecing that I do is without pins, but especially because this is such a gentle curve, I'm not going to worry so much about needing to match exactly. By cutting in this method, you don't end up with notches anyway. So I'm just going to show you how to stitch this using a very gentle, or using my curved piecing technique. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can take a look at the piecing foot that I have. I am just using a 1/4 inch piecing foot, and my piecing foot has a metal flange on the side, which is what I use for my guide. And as I stitch this, what I do is I hold the upper piece above the lower piece so that I can watch the edge of the lower piece. And the lower piece is what I'm using as a guide, and that's going to follow up against the metal guide. So I'll stitch this a little bit slowly, and as you hold the top piece above, I'll zoom out just a little bit here so you can kind of see how I hold this with my fingers. But I'm just holding this top piece up, and I have put my needle into this piece so that it's in the needle down and it's secured underneath the foot so I can get a hold of this. So I'm going to go ahead and start stitching. And when I stop, if you have a machine that has this setting, I like to stop in the needle down position. That way the piece doesn't go anywhere if I have to stop sewing for some reason. So I'm just stitching here, and like I said, I'm keeping the top piece lifted up so that I can watch the lower piece follow the guide. And what's going to happen here is that these two pieces will meet under the needle, and they will sort of magically match themselves up. Now this does take a little bit of practice. I do have several videos on this particular technique. There's a technique for double wedding ring. There's also one for Rob Peter to Pay Paul. The double wedding ring has a little bit of a tighter curve than Rob Peter to Pay Paul, but the technique is really the same. Like I said, you're just holding the top piece about an inch or so away from the needle. Make sure that you're not catching your fingers. And you're just guiding the upper piece and watching the lower piece and making sure that it's the lower piece that meets the 1/4 inch on the edge there. Curves tend to be very forgiving, so you know, with this type of free piecing technique, especially with this project, I just don't worry so much about what's going to happen at the end. I'm going to end up trimming this piece up. This is actually going to be my submission into the Modern Quilt Guild QuiltCon Block Challenge, and everyone's a winner there. Either your block gets pieced into a Modern Quilt Guild quilt, or it gets pieced into a quilt that gets donated to one of the local Arizona charities. So everybody wins with these blocks that get submitted. So you can see toward the end here that my piece is starting to come together. And I'm just looking for a pair of tweezers. I like to use a pair of tweezers to hold the bottom piece when I get really close to the end, just to make sure that they're going to meet. And you can see that they're going to be pretty close here, but again, I'm not as worried about this meeting up exactly. It's going to be pretty close, but like I said, I'm going to end up trimming this piece down so that it fits into the challenge requirements. But I thought that would be good to show you how that works, and then when you end up piecing these together, when it's time to press them, because this curve sort of undulates in and out, you can kind of see this. I'm going to end up pressing this away from the lighter fabric just because I don't want the seam to show underneath. And typically when I press these pieces, I press away from the outside curve, but because this piece kind of undulates, I'm going to end up just pressing the entire seam in that direction. And because it's a gentle curve, it should lay pretty flat, but I just have a lot of fun working with these curved pieces, and the bottle die is quickly becoming one of my favorite Sizzix dies. So I hope you enjoy this and get to try this project.